and it's an understandable frustration with humanity. But at the same time, he's not being morally good to everybody. And he's more so living within society, trying to be completely free of everything. That's not interacting with human beings. It's not showing love. That's being
Yeah.
selfish, like you're saying. One of those messages that I love. If you see someone doing something like this, it's your call to go and to talk with them and to understand them and to love them back and to understanding this is destructive. Asceticism. It seems to be an ideal till you realize you got to be eaten off the ground.
Asceticism, not for me.
No.
There's a strain of spiritual people who think that they need to transcend the world, and that means
Yes.
leaving it behind.
Yeah.
And they think it means like going to join nature. But I'll tell you what this kid did to go join nature, he died so that his body could join nature. Like he did. It wasn't.
What else have you been watching this week?
I've been playing Kingdom Hearts.
Oh, even better. Even better.
I got the whole series for like $60, which is 9 different games. So like I've been playing through it, dude. You know, it's just a blast from the past. Square Enix, Final Fantasy, Disney characters. How can you go wrong? Did you ever play Kingdom Hearts?
No. All my friends did, and I was always like, that's a weird PlayStation thing to do. I was an Xbox boy.
It's a crazy game, but the vibes are immaculate. The story, so needlessly convoluted.
Yeah. But
the vibes, amazing. It's great.
What are you playing on?
On the Xbox. It's like cross-platform now.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah.
If teenage or middle school us would have ever known that this is going to be happening, would have blown my mind.
I know.
All right, Kingdom Hearts, staying busy with a convoluted story. Speaking of convoluted stories, let's talk about Into the Wild. You hadn't seen this movie till now, right?
Correct, yeah. But like I was obviously so aware of the movie.
Yeah.
I just had gone out of my way to not see it.
I'm going to say a few things about it quickly.
Yeah.
By the time I saw it, I think I first watched it in 2016. And I, too, had heard a ton about it. Growing up Mormon as we did, John Krakaur was not one of those people we were huge fans of.
Yeah.
For anyone who knows about Under the Banner of Heaven. I know he'd also written, what's the book? The Everest Climb. Thin Air? Into Thin Air. He done some great stuff, right? So when I knew he had done this book and then Sean Penn had adapted it, I just remember a lot of adults in my life being like, ugh, Sean Penn's crazy. He gets in fights all the time and you shouldn't. This movie, everyone's going to hate it. Okay. So by the time I watched it, I had a bunch of stuff coloring in. I'm like, but I have to see what it's all about. And when I told people when I came back from watching it that I liked it, the reactions were equally as terrible and visceral. That said, I think this is one of the most misunderstood movies, and we'll see if we're on the same page about it or not. Because I think this traps a lot of vulnerable people into taking the wrong messages.
Yes.
So let's just start with there. Let's do a quick little plot go, and then we'll talk about opinions.
Okay.
This is the story of Chris McCandless. Chris McCandless was this kid in the late 80s who graduated from Emory and was kind of sick of the world he was living in. You can kind of understand if you can look back at history and go, oh, there's some similar themes of Bush, the first Bush, post-Reagan. There's a lot of things going on with war and corruption and all the rest of it, the markets, a lot of frustrations. So he's like, you know what? I'm going to ditch it all. I'm going to hit the road. Definitely inspired by Jack Kerouac, whether or not they say it in the movie or the book. Decides to hit the road. He's like, I want to give it all up. I want to get to Alaska. And so the book and the movie follows his real-life journey with some embellishments and changes across America, working, living as a drifter, kayaking, canoeing, to try and get to Alaska, with his ultimate end being he freezes and dies in this bus in the middle of the Alaskan wilderness and is found 2 weeks later by a couple of moose hunters. And it became this whole thing of like, should we all strive for this? Is that the real way to live? And that's where it all breaks down. So when Sean Penn goes to adapt this book into a movie, there's even more layers of like, oh, now you're going to show it visually. What are you doing? Are you inspiring the right people? But I will say this. Sean Penn said it's a tribute to truth-seeking nature that youth have and spiritual transcendence through nature. And at the same time, I feel like you can understand what the real story is. I guess it's opinion, but whatever. Tell me about your first thoughts after watching it.
Well, so
Here we go.
So this is a tale as old as time, right? Young kid, disillusioned with society, goes out in nature, bites off more than he can chew, has a great, dies.
Yeah.
Like tells all the time. I don't know if you're familiar with. There was a young artist named Everett Roos. Everett Roos. He was a printmaking artist in like the 1950s, 1940s or something in southern Utah, and he was a young kid artist, really gifted in the Moab, southern Utah area. Went out there and vanished. No one ever saw him again. And so we have access to very limited numbers of his prints of his work, and they're incredibly valuable because he only made so many of them. But it's basically the same story. Young kid, gifted, disillusioned with society, goes out there, no one ever sees him again. I don't know. I'm of many minds of this movie, and we'll just get it out of the way. One of the minds of this movie is I think, wow, what a dumb kid.
Yeah.
This is the wrong thing to do. Like being disillusioned with society, good. Tramping around, trying to be free from societal constraints, also probably a good thing. If you can get that done and do that, that's a good thing. The way in which he was doing things, he had a death wish. And I know like some Alaskan park ranger also made the same observation. I'm sorry, watching him get into a kayak and go down rapids in the Colorado River without a helmet and without any training at all. I'm like, you dumb shit. You are endangering yourself and you're endangering everyone around you who thinks that they're going to come rescue you if you get into trouble. Because I've been on whitewater before and I know that that's how things work. Yeah. So number one, dumb there. Number two, just dumb thinking you can live off the land with very minimal training. Like, and I know that the actual cause of his death is kind of a mystery, whether it was a plant thing or whether it was a starvation thing. But the truth is this kid went out there underprepared, thinking that he could do this thing, and he ended up killing himself. And if he had an ounce of preparation in terms of having a map or learning from other people, he might still be alive.
I think you've hit on exactly what the big issue of the book is. And I know people are going to be a little pissed off just because we live in a very literal society at the moment. There's not really much introspection. It's the same reason why when Darren Aronofsky's Noah came out, the whole entire Christian right was like, hey, that's not what's in the Bible. It's like, that's not what he's trying to do. But okay, it's frustrating, but understandable why perhaps the general populace is not a huge fan. But here's what I will say. To what you've just pointed out, this is really more of a cautionary tale than an inspiration to go do what he did. And I will say the biggest frustration is it's like the Darwin Awards that are given out every year. People, after reading the book from Krakaur, tried to retrace his steps and died in Alaska. It's like, what are you doing? That was not the point. And then when the movie came out, more people did it again. Did you just watch what happened? He died in the wilderness. People died in the river trying to kayak like he was trying to do. People died in Alaska, a whole bunch of them. They finally had to airlift that bus out of there. What are you not getting about this being a cautionary tale?
Yeah.
So for me, Sean Penn is artsy-fartsy Sean Penn. He's going to do whatever the hell he's going to do. He goes to war zones with the camera crew and thinks he's doing a good thing. Whatever. I think, in all honesty, this movie, for me, why it's a sacred text, is this is a cautionary tale about unearned wisdom, unearned safety, security, and feeling like you have a handle on things, but also the journey of a seeker when there's no one there to truly guide their path and they're guiding themselves, and how destructive it is. Because I feel like, what we talk about, psychedelics or otherwise, when there's unearned wisdom and there's someone who just goes in feet first and says, hey, I got it, I figured it out, that's how you know they haven't figured it out. And that was Chris McCandless. He says he's Alexander Supertramp. He takes on a whole new identity. He's fully believed in his early 20s that he somehow has cracked everything. No, but the beauty of trying to be a seeker and break a mold and almost like an Old Testament prophet of, I'm going to go outside civilization and my group to figure it out, that is honorable / interesting. But yeah, this movie is not about trying to retrace his steps, people. It's about realizing, one of his last quotes, happiness only real when shared. That to me is the thesis statement of the movie. But instead, everyone else is like, oh, that's cool, I want to take a road trip, which is frustrating.
Yeah, I remember when this first came out, and Like we were in that ward down there in Provo, and a
Yeah.
lot of the people in that ward, I think it kind of went through the like wildfire.
Mm-hmm.
Just went through a lot of the our friends, and I remember people just being obsessed with this. And I get it. You know, I get being a young 20 something and just being disillusioned with the world, and like especially disillusioned with work and capitalism and money and all that stuff, and just being like, I'm gonna throw it all away. I'm just gonna go out there. I'm gonna bushwhack. I'm gonna just like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna just figure it out. Like, I think there's something noble and honorable about that. I think it is a normal response to the way the world is, and that was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, and right now I get it even harder. I want to do that. I want to go and tramp around, and I'm not saying I want to be homeless, but I want to just live disconnected from everything. But there's also a really intense selfishness on display in this movie that I think we shouldn't valorize.
Yeah.
I know this kid's parents were not great, but this is at a time when communication was not what it is now.
No.
But to spoof an address so your parents' letters all go to a certain location, you never get them, and then just completely vanish from someone's life.
Yeah.
Who like loves you and cares about you. I don't know. I think that's a little bit selfish. And yeah, so this is a cautionary tale of taking good things, good motives, good desires, and just like focusing them in the wrong way. I love the idea of unearned wisdom too, because boy, do I see that all the time.
All the time. And I think that's what's interesting is that, like I was saying with the guide rails, this to me is the parable of the Good Samaritan, because he keeps running into people and they give him a little advice, but they don't honestly do more what they should have done. There are ways in which they could have, I think, been better guidepost mentors and like really said, hey, let's go try this together. I'm going to go with you. Or knowing he's going up there, send someone after him. You know what I mean? Like send someone to go check up on him and accidentally go drop off food. Whatever you have to do. But instead, each one admires what he's doing from afar and just go, that's interesting. Good luck. Bye. And that's one of my big frustrations with the film is that, or not just with the film, with his story, is that human nature. He's constantly complaining. Chris is like, why are people so fucking bad to each other all the time? Oh my gosh. And it's an understandable frustration with humanity. But at the same time, he's not being morally good to everybody. And he's more so living within society, trying to be completely free of everything. That's not interacting with human beings. It's not showing love. That's being selfish, like you're saying. I think, like the Vince Vaughn character and others, everyone kind of looks at him in an interested way, like a monkey when they see a magic trick of like, ooh, interesting.
Yeah.
Best of luck. And that is one of those messages that I love. If you see someone doing something like this, it's your call to go and to talk with them and to understand them and to love them back and to understand this is destructive. That is a big point. But
yeah,
asceticism, it seems to be an ideal till you realize you got to be eaten off the ground.
Yeah, okay. It's just asceticism, not for me. No. There's a strain of spiritual people who think that they need to transcend the world, and that means leaving it behind.
Yeah.
And they think it means like going to join nature. But I'll tell you what this kid did to go join nature, he died so that his body could join nature.
Mm-hmm.
Like it wasn't like he didn't do it good enough. He didn't think hard enough. But back to the original point of transcending the world, I don't know. I'm suspicious of any spiritual path that makes you think, gives you a superiority complex over everyone else. Yeah. Because what I saw in this movie is this kid thinks he's better than everyone else. The way that he talks about his family, like granted, his dad was abusive and like he came from a really like bad home life. Like I get that. Yeah. But the way in which he talks about his family to the people around him is with a lot of superiority. And I'm just very suspicious of any spiritual path that makes you think that you're better because you have transcended the world in any sort of way or separated yourself from it. And you know me, I'm more of a Franciscan sort of way where it's like, no. We're not transcending the world. We're in the world.
Yeah.
We're in the world, maybe not of the world, but we're in it. We're in it like with people. Yeah. So this is one of those where it's like this is a sacred text that shows you how to do it by showing you how someone did it wrong.
Yep. And you've given my own thesis statement. That's exactly why I love this movie, because as one who feels a little bit of a seeker pull in his own body, spirituality or otherwise, this was good for me to be like, oh, got it. Being an atheist in the mountain is not helpful to anybody.
No, it's
Atheist
not.
or spiritual or whatever else, meditating on your own. I think watching Star Wars growing up, there was a moment where I was like, do we idealize Yoda or do we realize he made a mistake? There's that whole
Yeah.
level there. And I wanted to give two quick notes before I move on of this movie was tough because there were things that Chris's sister told both Krakaur and Sean Penn they couldn't show until her parents had died, which was her parents were extremely abusive. Her dad
Yeah.
was, and that her mom was kind of a enabler by not stopping and kind of sometimes feeding into these things. So Chris's anger really came from unresolved physical and emotional trauma from
Yeah.
his dad and from his parents. This is a great movie to say, like, go to therapy. Go to therapy. That's going to be your fix.
Yeah.
My other note on the asceticism thing, I know there are many spiritual paths which state that at a certain point, a person, in order to reach nirvana or Zen or whatever else, they have to leave family, career, everything behind and go live aesthetically till they die. And I am in vehement opposition to that, like we're talking about here.
Strong agree.
Because if we were meant to live in nature alone with nothing, we would have been born a tree. I hate to be that Italian guy on the cooking show. If my mother had wheels, she'd be a bicycle. If we were meant to go do that, we would have done that. Us being
Yeah.
born into communities that need bond and fellowship and physical touch and love and all these different things that we understand cognitively we need and our brains
Yeah.
degenerate without. You are being unnatural by going into nature alone to die.
Yeah.
That's just not the point here. So, like you're saying, this is a wonderful, beautiful, spiritual warning story that this is not exactly the answer. That in seeking spirituality and enlightenment, really you go to die alone and go, oh, wait, I might have missed the plot. And this is not saying Chris McCandless was a bad person or whatever else. I
No.
think all the factors along his life that led him here make sense to an observer. I think it's a good thing to point out within yourself or others when you're on the path that's leading towards a lonesome demise rather than healing and understanding and truly finding enlightenment.
Yeah. I just can't say enough about being suspicious of spiritual paths that lead you into isolation and separation from the world. I think for anyone listening, if you're being driven into separation and isolation from the world, I don't know. I think real spirituality is supposed to drive you into the arms of others and not away from everyone. However, there's not to say there were not beautiful moments in this movie that I think are great inspiration, right? Like that scene where he's eating the apple, he's just sitting there on the sidewalk eating this apple and he's talking to the apple and he's like, wow, why do you taste so good? This is amazing. I'm like, wow, I've been that guy.
Yeah.
Just like being engrossed in the taste of an apple.
If I was more of a video editor, I would love to side by side all those moments of him eating the apple and then him standing in the middle of the wilderness screaming, where are you animals? I want to eat you. I'm hungry. I'm going to die with this gun and back and forth. Or him working at the granary and getting dirty and dusty. And Vince Vaughn's like, hey, you done in there? He's like, I'm not done. I'm still good to go. Versus him chopping up the moose and flies and maggots everywhere. The dichotomy of all of these moments really points out when things are done right or in the right light versus desperation and sadness.
Yeah, like what drives someone into thinking that a solitary year in Alaska is the move, especially when you've had all these great moments of community with all these friends that you've made along the way? What makes you think that you need to leave them?
I think that also speaks to the inerrancy and arrogance of young people, but especially young men, of believing that you have an expectation and a goal and you've told so many people about it. Well, you can't just stop now. When in all reality, you definitely can and should most of the time. When you realize it's wrong, it's like, oh, no. Your expectation is with yourself. Who cares if anyone asks about it? You just be done.
Yeah.
Be done with it all. I think when we talk about the technical aspects of this movie a little bit, this is the stupidity and the admiration at once. Emil Hirsch did all of his own stunts. There's no stunt person, including kayaking down the river with no helmet on.
Yeah.
So there's like a level in which you want to be like, it's accuracy. But to the other side, you're like, but you're an actor. You're a human. You live in LA. This is stupid. You should have had one on. The moose was an actual moose he chopped up. They claim it was roadkill. PETA be damned. They claim it was a road-killed moose, but he really did cut it open. There's blood everywhere. He's cutting things open. That's the Sean Penn of it all. I like it, but I don't like it at the same time. I'm like, it's bastardized. It's masturbatory. This whole like, we have to get it exactly right. Maybe don't. Maybe don't.
Yeah.
At least for the bus, they didn't go shoot at the actual bus. I think that would have been wrong.
And they wanted to.
They wanted to, but they did build the bus and go put it somewhere else and film there. But there's just a level, again, where like film can get way too full of itself and try and do the superiority thing of, we're going to do it exact. It's like, maybe don't. Maybe don't shoot your next movie at Auschwitz. Like there's just like certain things you don't do. Let's not do that one. Any questions that arose for you while watching this that we haven't discussed?
I think this movie still hits on some like crucial, like it inspires people for a reason.
Yeah.
And I think it's because it's normal to be disenchanted with society and to think, wow, this thing is so sick. Not sick in a cool way, sick in a bad way. And I need to leave it. Like, I think that is that's a healthy response. And going to find alternative community. Like, I think that maybe the better move is to find alternative community rather than ascetic isolation in the wilderness.
Yeah.
Because I think you could probably find alternative community in the wilderness. If you really want to like go live that bushwhacking life out in Alaska, there's probably alternative communities you could go and live in. But I think that this movie struck a chord for people because there is something in it that is universal that speaks to the heart.
Yeah. And as the nature boy yourself, I know you're just dancing around. What we're trying to say is people watch this movie and realize I need to touch grass. I need to be in nature. I wrote down a note that I hadn't noticed before and just how Sean Penn shot this with his DP, which was fantastic. Nature is both big and personal because he has these gigantic wide shots of little Emil Hirsch, little Chris McCandless walking through forest. Oh my gosh. And then you're right over his shoulder. And it's this moment of, the grandeur of nature is also the personal closeness of nature, of touching the trees, you're standing by the water, all these little moments in which you're reconnecting with maybe what perhaps not only the past humans, but humans that are more in tune with nature have always been doing. Get into the trees, clear your mind, have some quiet and solace. That's beautiful. If you want solitude, go for a hike. Spend a weekend camping like you do. I think that is what people are mixing up a little bit, is this beauty and grandeur of the outside natural world. Doesn't mean you have to do that full time.
No, and there's kind of like, honestly, like an American exceptionalism aspect to this whole thing where American culture is very individualistic. Like we're very atomistic, very individualized. It's all about you as a person. And I think that was his big failure, was he saw himself as an individual removed from systems of support around him. And to think that in order to be good or successful at doing this tramping, bushwhacking thing means to just do it alone, I think is where he failed. Because the truth is no man is an island, right? Like whatever that poem is. And that American thing that he was disenchanted with, he didn't fully extricate from his system. He was disenchanted with the American way and like our economic systems of oppression and working, all that kind of stuff. But he didn't fully excise it from his body, which is this idea of rugged individualism. Yeah. That is part of the American lie as well. It just is that you are not an individual. You are a manifestation of a community. And to think that you can be a rugged individual in the wilderness with no training is asinine.
Him pulling out the book, which I will say again, the movie changes a few things they weren't exactly sure. In the movie, he dies by eating the wrong potato bush or sprouts that was poisoned. That did not happen. That was the prevailing theory for a long time. 2015, John Krakaur wrote an article based on what they had found recently, which was he had both in his bus, but he hadn't eaten it. It wasn't in his system. He had probably just died from starvation and cold. But regardless, the idea of him carrying like a small guidebook to help him figure out what to eat in the Alaskan wilderness is crazy. Or asking Zach Galifianakis, which by the way, didn't realize he was in this movie, asking him how to shoot an animal and clean it. And he's like, well, you got to do this, this, this. You got to clean it before the maggots. You've never done this before? You're going to do it in wild? No. Just no. Spend 4 years as a guide somewhere or in the national parks. And even then, don't go do that. I sat there realizing, like you were saying, if he had found alternate community, if he'd found therapy, he would have been okay. Like the points of Salvation Rock, I think, are some of my favorite parts of the movie. Like him and Kristen Stewart, her first movie before Twilight, and that whole little commune there. That's beautiful. That's what he needed for a lot of his life, to be able to feel outside yet inside. But no, he went off to the wilderness. So if you hate this movie and you've never seen it, watch it. It's a cautionary tale. Don't watch it as inspiration of what to do.
Yeah.
If you've seen this movie once and you hated it, maybe try it with a different light. And if you've seen it twice and you're good, then don't watch it again. We don't care. Sean Penn doesn't need your dimes to stream it. All that to say, it's a sacred text for me because it is this cautionary tale and a great reminder that seekers should never seek alone. And we will wrap it up there for today. We'll have the link in our show notes as to where to watch this, and catch us with another sacred text next month.